What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast. This is Operation Smarty Pants, where our mission is to acquire knowledge and expand our minds. I am your host, Special Agent Ray, and today we are going to learn about Brazilian butt lifts, plastic surgery, specifically the story of one woman on the journey to getting her perfect body. We're going to get into it. First of all, thank you guys so much for all the love on my previous episodes. Stick around to the end of this episode for some shout outs and some talkbacks from the last one. But we're gonna get right into this. Okay, so I watched a video on YouTube. This is on YouTube, so you guys can go and watch it yourself if you want. If you haven't watched it, no worries. We're gonna talk about everything that happens throughout this podcast episode. But this was a documentary by The New Yorker. It was I think it was a little over 20 minutes long, so it wasn't that long at all. But it was called The Story of a Butt Lift, or You'll Be Happier, quote unquote. So this, short documentary follows a woman named Jennifer Aceituno, and her sort of the process, the before, during, and after of getting a Brazilian butt lift. Okay, so now why are we talking about this today? What is there for us to learn from, one woman's plastic surgery story? I am fascinated by plastic surgery. I am fascinated by the people who get it and why they get it. I am fascinated by what they have done, what they think they need to fix on themselves, why they think that something else is going to be better than what they already have. I don't have any plastic surgery myself. I don't want any plastic surgery myself. That is not within the wheelhouse of things that I am comfortable with doing to my body. Believe me or not, that's the truth. But I've always been interested in it. I remember being younger and looking through galleries of botched plastic surgeries, the before and afters of people like Donatella Versace, or that cat, that woman who wanted to look like a cat, so she got all these surgeries to make her look like a cat, or the human Barbie and human Ken doll who changed themselves to look like toys. It's just interesting. It's very interesting to me. I think just sort of the mental and emotional state and process of going through something like that, because I can't really relate. I consider myself to be, attractive enough as is. I'm very happy with the way that I look. I don't feel the need to change anything about myself. And so it's just very interesting to me that there are people who do feel the need to change things about themselves, because I kind of, disagree. It's just interesting. It's kind of like, okay, this is going to sound bad, but it's kind of like if there's a car crash or a train wreck or something and you kind of can't look away. There's this kind of sick human fascination with watching something horrible happen to other people. That's how I feel about plastic surgery. So yeah, so that's the perspective that we're going to be coming into this with. I know that there's a ton of people out there who see nothing wrong with plastic surgery, who want it for themselves, who get it for themselves. That's fine. Of course, it's your body. You can do whatever you want with it. And I know that, there's some times where it is, necessary to fix, something, a deformity, or something that is, causing you pain or discomfort in daily life. That's one thing. If you're fixing something that's wrong, that's one thing. If it's for aesthetic purposes, I disagree with that. I'm going to come out strong and say I disagree with aesthetic plastic surgery, even though over the years now it has provided me a lot of fascination and I guess entertainment, I guess you would say. But and even there's a sense of my own moral superiority about it. oh yeah, this person is rich and beautiful, but it's not natural. They got plastic surgery, and I'm not rich, but I'm still beautiful, and I didn't need the plastic surgery for it, that sort of thing. So all of this is coming from a very flawed, biased place of my own mind and my own perspective, but we're still here to learn something. So I'm hoping that, I did learn something from watching this documentary. I'm hoping you learned something from listening to me talk about it. I kind of went in, I had two questions going into watching this little episode here about Jennifer, about her story. My questions were, one, why does she want a BBL? What is the reasoning behind her, taking this leap and committing to a full-on Brazilian butt lift? And does she think that it was worth it in the end? Not whether or not it was or wasn't, but does she think that it was worth it in the end? And the answer may surprise you. So, well, let's get into it. We'll kind of see kind of her story of the beforehand. Why does she want it? What made her decide to do it? Why now? Things like that. So Jennifer described that as when she was younger, when she was a kid, that she was, thicker than her sisters. Maybe a little better, a little chunkier, whatever. She also said that she was called a fat cow by her parents. Her parents, her mother and father, the people who brought her into this world, who ostensibly should love her more than anyone else, they were calling her a fat cow. For me, that is unacceptable. Completely unacceptable. Yeah, you can't call your child, you can't insult your child like that. If your kid is fat and they need to lose weight and they need to exercise, that's one thing. There are plenty of ways to facilitate that, to encourage them to live a healthier lifestyle, to care for themselves, to exercise and eat healthy. There's plenty of ways to put your child on that path that do not include calling them a fat cow. That to me, that states that they're not, that the intention wasn't to help her, right? The intention wasn't to help her. The intention wasn't to improve her life. That was just an insult. And to do that to a child is horrible. To do that to your own child is even worse. So I think a lot of all of this, starts from her parents telling her from a young age that she's fat. And when you're a child and when you are, especially under the age of like 7 or 10, your brain and your psyche and your personality is still sort of forming and still developing, and you are taking in information and using whatever you take in to kind of establish your sense of self and your point of view and how you see yourself and how you see the world. So if she's a young child, if she is under 10 years old, and she's hearing her parents call her a fat cow, she is going to, just by nature of being a child and growing and developing, she is going to take that and internalize that and make that a core belief about herself. A core belief is that she is a fat cow, and that is going to stick with her for years and years and years. And it did. She explained that, growing up she was bulimic, and that she would overexercise. She would pump the heater and lock her windows and exercise until she passed out because she believed that she was a fat cow. She wasn't a fat cow. She was a child. She was a teenager. She's supposed to be learning about how to take care of yourself and to build a healthy life and live a healthy lifestyle and exercise to an appropriate degree and eat to an appropriate amount. Instead, she's trying to reverse this idea that's been implanted into her head by somebody who ostensibly should love and care for her. They told her she was a fat cow. Anyways, that's wild to me. That's wild. I can't imagine that. I'm so grateful to have grown up with parents who took the route of encouraging me and building a healthy lifestyle and setting an example for a healthy lifestyle and holding me and my brother to that. Because I cannot imagine being in the state of mind where you're trying to fight this idea for your whole life that your parents called you fat when you were a kid. That's so sad to me. So I think that, that growing up, wow, growing up with this idea in your head she stated that like she wanted to be different. She wanted to be somebody else. And to me that speaks to ultimately just not being happy with yourself, not being happy in your own skin, not being happy with who you are. And she's now turning to an outside solution to fix this internal problem. Let's keep that in mind as we move forward. An outside solution for an internal problem. So she said that she wanted to, she's getting this BBL because she wanted to be more confident. She wanted to feel better. She wanted to look better. She was saying that she was noticing the butts on these other girls and that she kind of wanted that too. And when we're saying the butts on these other girls, we're talking about other women who are getting BBLs, Brazilian butt lifts. And mostly this is coming from social media. Probably there were some people, maybe there were some people like in her life who she saw get BBLs. She didn't mention anyone specifically, like any specific influences, just that she was seeing all these other girls with these great butts, these great BBLs on the internet, on social media, and thinking that she wanted that too. Now let's touch really quickly on that. Social media, the internet, where nothing that you see is actually real, where all you're viewing is just a curated snippet of somebody's day, somebody's life, something that they want you to see, something they want you to read and to think about them. So you cannot look at what somebody is posting on social media and take that as truth. It's not. There might be an aspect of truth that might be, again, 5 minutes of their day is them standing in this cool place and taking a picture and they're sticking their butt out, and maybe they did get a BBL. Maybe it's also plastic surgery. No, they did get a BBL. Maybe it's also Photoshop that they're using to kind of smooth out some lines and shrink their waist just a little bit more and make their butt just a little bit bigger. And they're smiling for the picture because they want to look happy. Maybe they're not actually happy. Maybe there's a ton of pain and complications going on with whatever surgery they've had. Maybe, secretly they are unhappy with what they've had done, but they've already committed to it. So they're trying to convince you, the viewer, and convince themselves, the poster, that what they're putting out there on social media is truth. You can't base decisions on what other people are doing on the internet, what other people are posting on the internet. You can't assume that you're looking at an accurate picture or depiction of their life. But Jennifer, saw these other girls who were in great shape from these BBLs. So they were claiming, talking about how grateful they were for their perfect bodies, how happy they were about it. And people are open about plastic surgery now, way more than they were compared to like 10, 15 years ago. I think that that's a good thing because people are more open about it. So you see these beautiful women, and if they're open about it, then you can know, okay, well, they're beautiful. Yes, they're beautiful, but they've also had a nose job. They've also had their boobs done. They've also had a butt lift. So yeah, they're beautiful, but there were these steps that they took to look that way. And so, yeah, I don't look like them because I didn't take those steps. So, kind of gives you some more perspective on that. I think that's a good thing because there's not so much this like unattainable beauty standard where, oh my gosh, they just naturally look so good, and it's exercise and diet, and I exercise and I diet, but I don't look like that. There's other interventions. There's other things going on. And of course, there's still people who lie about it, but I think that as a general society of women, we are now more aware of the kinds of procedures and opportunities that some people have to look a certain way that other people don't know about or don't consider or don't have the money for. Things like that. So it's a good thing. I think it's also a bad thing because people being so open about plastic surgery now normalizes it and makes it more accessible to, the everyday person. And again, in my opinion, the number of people who actually need and can truly benefit from plastic surgery is very, very small, very, very low. So the fact that it is so out there and open and accessible for anyone to now just go and, get your lips filled, get your boobs done, get a Brazilian butt lift is not a good thing. And it's not a good thing because it's encouraging people to go out and change their body, to undergo surgery. Surgery is crazy. Surgery is a big undertaking, and we'll talk about that a little bit more later. But then there's also the risks of going to, as things get more popular, as the demand rises, then the supply is going to increase too. There's going to be more people, more surgeons out there offering whatever type of plastic surgery is good and popular nowadays. And some of them aren't necessarily the best at it. Some of them aren't as reputable as others, or as skilled as others, or as trained as others. So you're taking a big risk. I mean, any sort of plastic surgery is a big risk, putting your life and your health in someone else's hands. And then so now there's so many options. There's going to be, the people who are the best at it, the cream of the crop, the safest options. There's going to be the people who learned how to do it last year, and they want to jump on and make money off of the insecurity of all of these women who want this procedure done. And they're, maybe you don't have as much experience, as much practice. There's more risk of getting botched by it and having your face, your body changed in a way that is irreversible. The plastic surgeon that Jen went to seems to be reputable. His name is Dr. Matthew Schulman. He said that he has done over 5,000 Brazilian butt lifts. That's a big number. 5,000 is a lot of people. And this is just one guy. This is just one surgeon in one city doing 5,000 BBLs. How many other surgeons out there? There's so many. BBLs have become just such a widespread thing that there's so many people out there who are doing this, and so many women out there who are getting it. So yeah, that kind of surprised me that one person has done over 5,000. But I mean, I guess this is your job. This is your day in. This is your day out. This is what you're doing. So yeah, if you're established enough to be able to do this for your job and to be doing it regularly, then you must have done a lot, I'm sure. So, that makes sense. Jen paid this man, Dr. Matthew Schulman, Jennifer paid this man $15,000. $15,000. That is half of all of the money that I still owe for my student loans. $15,000 is crazy. There's so much you could do with $15,000. And she got a BBL. None of this, I want to be completely transparent. I am not judging her in any way. I do not see any of this as a reflection of her character. She seems like a very good, nice, sweet person. But I'm just trying to be objective. This is sort of using this as like a case study into someone's, mental and emotional state and their process and their decision making. I am, fascinated by psychology. That was, if I didn't do the job that I'm doing now, I would have wanted to go into psychology and be a therapist. So just really sort of looking at someone's thought process and decision making, why they're doing the things they're doing, is very interesting to me. So I'm doing all of this dispassionately, with a degree of objectivity about Jennifer as a subject of this video and a subject of this podcast, not her as a person. I'm sure she's lovely as a person, but we are going to, we have to be honest. We have to be really honest with ourselves. We have to be honest with the people around us, and we have to be honest about what we're looking at. $15,000 is a lot of money to spend on your butt. And $15,000 is a lot of money to spend on the risks associated with BBLs. I know the biggest one is the risk of the doctor incorrectly injecting the fat so that it gets into your bloodstream and does not just sit like on or around the muscle of your glutes, but you can, pierce an artery, get some fat into the bloodstream. If that fat goes into your bloodstream, it will be carried through your body to your heart, and you will die. You will. That's heavy, but it happens. You will. 1 in 3,000 women die from this complication. when it comes to BBLs. So if we think about the fact that Dr. Matthew Schulman has done 5,000 BBLs, one or two women who he's treated, who he's done this for, there's a high possibility that a couple of those women have died directly from his hand, from this BBL being performed on their bodies. That's, again, personally not a risk I'm willing to take. I like my body the way it is. I do not want fat anywhere that is not supposed to be. I do not want the risk of death for vanity. And that was something that Dr. Matthew Schulman said. A direct quote from him: "People tend to discount the power of vanity." Let's take a quick moment to unpack that. What is the definition of vanity? Vanity typically refers to excessive pride in one's appearance, abilities, or achievements, often accompanied by a desire for admiration from others. It can also involve an excessive focus on superficial qualities or a preoccupation with one's own importance. So, pride in your appearance, a desire for admiration from others, and focus on superficial qualities or one's own importance. So he's basically saying that vanity is a powerful thing, powerful enough to push people into action. So pride in your appearance, a focus on your appearance or superficial qualities, and a desire to achieve admiration from others is powerful enough to push people into spending $15,000 on a Brazilian butt lift. And for Dr. Matthew Schulman, that's great. That's good for him. He's happy with that. He's making bank. He's done 5,000 BBLs. He's made $15,000 on each one. You do the math. He's sitting pretty. He's happy. He is benefiting from other people's vanity. Now, are those people themselves benefiting from that vanity? This calls to mind, to me, the story of Narcissus, the Greek myth of Narcissus, the man who fell so in love with his own reflection in the pond in the forest that he, trying to get to it, trying to achieve that perfection reflected back at him, his obsession with his own self-image ended up being his downfall. And I think that myth exists for a reason. I think it exists to warn us that excessive obsession with our own looks, being too preoccupied with what we look like and being so obsessed with being beautiful, can lead to our own downfall. So Jennifer went to Matthew Schulman for her BBL. Apparently she had gone to him before to have some liposuction done on her arms. Liposuction is basically just removing fat from the body. She'd mentioned that she had 3 different plastic surgeries so far, two previous ones, and then this BBL. She didn't mention what the other one is. It might have been a lip lift. There was something that to me just looked a little bit different, or a little off about her lips. I thought maybe lip filler, but she mentioned a surgery, and lip filler isn't always considered like plastic surgery. It's more of just like a procedure. So she may have had a lip lift done, maybe something else, I don't know. But she's no stranger to this. So she's had plastic surgery done before. She's had her body modified before. So she went into her consultation with Dr. Matthew Schulman, and he was kind of showing her where they could take the fat from and where they would inject it into. So basically pulling fat from her lower back, from kind of her like lats, her rib cage area, and her upper arms. And he showed her like how he could use that to kind of bring her butt out sideways, so she had more horizontal projection from the front. She said to him that she was both nervous and excited about it. And the Dr. Matthew Schulman, he was the one who told her, "You'll be happier. You'll be happier once you get this butt lift. You'll be happier once you get this done." He's the man who is making money off of her insecurities is the one telling her that she's going to be happier about this. Basically solidifying for her, convincing her that this is a good idea. You can't always trust the person that's making money off of you. I'll just leave that there. So she had this consultation. She went back to prep for her surgery. We got to meet her fiance, a man named Ian Glogg. He seems like a very nice, sweet person. He seems like he's very supportive of her in what she wants. However, it is obvious from the way that he's speaking and the way that they're interacting that he does not think that she needs this done. He does not think she needs a BBL. He called it a weird insecurity. He said something along the lines of, "Oh, you're going to the doctor, you're going to fix this weird insecurity about yourself." So to me, that indicates that he doesn't see anything wrong with the way that she looks. He doesn't think there's anything that needs to be fixed or corrected. He thinks that her being insecure about the size of her butt or the shape of her butt or how thin her waist is, he thinks that is weird for her to be insecure about that. And I agree with him. But he also said that he wants her to be happy when she looks in the mirror. And that's where I say he's very sweet. He's very sweet. He wants her to be happy. It's obvious throughout all of this that he is putting her emotional state first. I think that ends up being sort of a detriment because it prevents him from being honest with her. He's thinking about her feelings and emotions more than what is actually good and right for her. And so he is supporting this because he wants her to be happy when she looks in the mirror. But the method for her to get to that happiness is maybe not the right one. She maybe should not be, going through a full surgery and changing the way her body looks in order to be happy when she looks in the mirror. She should maybe focus on the mental and emotional trauma and issues that she's dealing with in order to be happy when she looks in the mirror. But Ian didn't bring that up to her in any way, shape, or form. He took her to her surgery. He gave her a hug and a kiss. He wished her luck. Jen, before the surgery itself, she was talking about how excited she was. She was saying that this is a dream come true for her, that she's ready to get her body made over. Again, this Dr. Matthew Schulman, promised her a larger butt, a more shapely butt, promised her that he would pull the fat from her torso, that he would snatch her waist in, snatch her body in, and sculpt it the way that she wants. And this doctor was also just kind of, sitting in sort of an interview style, talking head style. He referred to, sort of the mental and emotional changes that go into having a plastic surgery done. So he's aware of it, but in my opinion, it's a little skewed. He said that if I change the physical, which makes her feel better, which changes her life, then great. He's happy about that. He's all in support of that. So what he said was, first, changing the physical is going to make her feel better. Her feeling better is then going to change her life and make her happier. So that's the steps that he has outlined. That's, I don't know if he fully believes it or not, but that's at least what he is putting out there for this documentary. Physical change, feeling better, changing your life. I personally think that that's kind of the opposite route to go to, right? Change your life first. Change your life. If you're not happy with how you look, change your life. Do something different. Exercise more, eat less, eat healthier foods. Change the actual state and routine of your life first. That is then going to make you feel better. When you feel better, and then when you're living healthily, that is then going to change your physical appearance as a byproduct of changing your life and changing your mental state. Again, you can see my bias coming out heavily in this one. I think that this is sort of a backwards way of wanting to be different, wanting to change your body, change your life. But again, this is her choice. This is her story. We're just sort of observing. I hope that you are drawing your own conclusions. You don't have to agree with me on my opinions. But let's keep going. So this documentary followed her into the operation room. They were able to record some of the actual actions and effects and things going on the operating table during the surgery. The doctor pinned up some of her before photos, kind of like a front, side, back image of her before. Here's the thing. She has an amazing body. She has a great shape. She has a great silhouette. She has a nice waist. She is thick around the hips and the legs, but it's in a way that is actually kind of more desirable than what some of these BBLs are producing. She had a very thin waist. From the side, her stomach was flat, and she had a nice, butt. She had, good, solid, thick thighs. All she really needs to do is lose a bit of fat and tone up, and she would look amazing. So she has, and see, again, this is where for me it's fascinating. She has this beautiful before shape, and she thinks that there's something wrong with it. She can't see it the way that I'm looking at it right now and thinking, wow, she looks great. She can't see it the way that her fiance is looking at her and saying, this insecurity is weird, you're perfect the way you are. So she can't see it. So there's something mentally and emotionally in her mind and in her psyche that is preventing her from seeing herself in a positive light. Now, I will not go into any of the details of what happened on the surgery room. I will just say, I'm super squeamish. All this stuff, watching anything happen to a human body, whether it's in the movies, whether it's real life documentary like this, it just gives me the heebie-jeebies. I don't like it. So it was hard for me to watch, and seeing what actually happens, watching this Jennifer, she's unconscious. She's completely unconscious. She basically became an object to the surgeon, to the people in the room, as he is going through these steps and manipulating her body in a way that, to me, should not happen to anyone. No one's body should be treated this way unless, again, like we said, it's necessary. I think that surgery is there as an emergency measure. If someone gets in a horrible accident and they need to be operated upon in order to save their life, yes, do that. That is a point where it is necessary, where it is needed. Again, if you need to fix something that is causing you regular pain and discomfort, and it is affecting the quality of your life, then yes, do what you need to do. But this elective surgery that is just there to change the way that you look, what they do to your body on that operating table isn't worth it. It's inhumane. It's inhumane. It makes me sick to my stomach. I can't believe it. And here's the cherry on top. The cherry on top, at the very end, there was like a sheet. She was face down. There was a sheet laid over her behind, and the doctor grabs the sheet and goes, voila, and pulls it off. And the nurses that are standing there watching go, yay, and they clap. And they clap like it's a like it was a piece of clay or a piece of stone that he sculpted and is unveiling this beautiful piece of art that he made. Again, an object, not a human. This is a real life human being who has been put under anesthesia, who has passed out, and you're clapping for her, but like it's the Mona Lisa. When I don't know, I just the separation of a real human who has to wake up and deal with the consequences of this choice that she made, and these nurses clapping for this horrible thing that the surgeon has done to this person after watching, kind of the more gruesome details, and they're clapping for it, is just insane to me. So we watch Jen wake up from this surgery. She's super sleepy. She's like trembling. Her hands are trembling. You can tell that she's really in a lot of pain. And her fiance came and picked her up. And she's like crying in his arms. And it's horrible. I feel so bad for her. I can't imagine what she's feeling. She literally has to lay down in the trunk of their like SUV on her stomach. She can't sit normally. Of course, her body was just operated on. She can't sit on her butt. So she has to lay down, and you kind of see just some of the fallout, some of the, hard steps of recovery. She has like a drain bag. She's, bleeding. It's really difficult. This is wild. She actually lied to her sister about getting in a car accident in order to get her sister to come over. She didn't think that her sister would come over and see her if she had said, oh, I got a BBL. She lied to her sister about a horrible accident for her sister to come over and see what happened. And she didn't even tell her parents. She didn't tell anyone. She didn't tell her parents that she was undergoing a potentially life-threatening surgery. So there is a level of insecurity and shame that she has about even getting this done, to the point where she kept it a secret. She knew that her sister wouldn't approve. She knew that her family wouldn't approve. I'm sure there's a level of resentment of her, like, you know, the trauma that she's experienced in the past, of her resenting that, and so not even wanting to be honest with them about what she's doing. And I think that's really sad, to feel like you have to lie to your family about something like this. And if that's where you're at, if you can't even be open and honest with the people who you are closest to about this huge undertaking that you're getting done, I think that maybe you shouldn't be getting it done. You shouldn't be undertaking that. You shouldn't be having plastic surgery if you cannot be open and honest with your family about what you're doing, right? I don't know. Am I crazy? Is that weird? What do you guys think? What do you guys think about that? But her sister came to watch. I mean, once she found out the truth, she seemed to be, supportive to some degree. I think that at that point, there's really nothing, it's done. So there isn't really anything her sister could say or do to change her mind. You just kind of have to accept it and move forward. But Jen, she told her sister, she said, "Never again. I'm never doing it again. This is the last time." In reference to plastic surgery in general. She said that this is the last procedure she's getting done. This was horrible. She doesn't want to do it again. So that was her conclusion. This is also very soon after the surgery, so she's still in a lot of pain. She's still dealing with the fallout of what happened. And then about, I don't know how much later, maybe within a week later or so, she went back to see the doctor to kind of do a post-procedure checkup to see how it's looking. So, and so we can see, as well, kind of what she looks like now. She didn't look better. She doesn't look better, you guys. She doesn't look better. She just looks different. She just looks different. Her body's just shaped in this like trendy way that looks like you got a BBL, right? It didn't snatch her waist in. It changed the shape of her waist. It changed the shape of her torso. But she still has, fat. She still has skin, excess skin to some degree. That can't be changed by surgery. That needs to be tightened through exercise and hydration and stuff like that. Her butt didn't look bigger. She had a big butt anyways. Her butt now, it doesn't look any bigger. It's just shaped differently. She just kind of has some projections on the sides. It now just looks like everyone else's butt who had a BBL. She's no longer unique. Her shape is no longer unique or special to her. It looks like everybody else. And I don't know if that's really what she wanted. But she says it is. She said, again, these are quotes directly from her. "It looks way better seeing myself differently. It feels really good." Again, she admitted it. She said differently. She said she sees herself differently. And I wanted to look at her body language after she said all of that. She gave a little laugh. She kind of pursed her lips together as if, as if trying to hold something back. She kind of laughed. She kind of pursed her lips together, and she got this little far off look in her eyes, and she nodded to herself a couple of times. And to me, my opinion, my assessment of that is she's trying to convince herself that it looks way better. She's trying to convince herself that she feels really good. She's nodding to herself as if to say, yes, this was the right decision. I made the right decision. But I don't know if she really believes it. I think on the surface she does. I think she's going to tell herself that she believes it. I think she's going to tell herself that it was the right decision, and that she looks better. But deep down, she's got to know, right? But that's so hard. It's so hard to invest $15,000 and to spend all this time, all this pain, all this energy, lying to your family, convincing your fiance that this was a good idea, to spend all of that time and effort and energy, and then at the end to walk it back and to admit and say, I just look different, I didn't need this. No one's going to do that. It's so hard. You have to set so much of yourself and your pride and your ego aside in order to be able to admit that. And I think that happens with a lot of these women, that they put so much into it, the sunk cost fallacy, right? They put so much into it. I put so much time and effort and so much money into getting all these surgeries and changing myself that it has to be worth it, right? It has to be worth it. It can't not be worth it. Otherwise I've wasted my time, I've wasted my money, I've wasted my youth, and now I am irreparably different than what I was before. That's a really hard thing for people to admit. So I don't think that a week, 2 weeks after the surgery, Jen's not going to be able to admit that. And maybe she never does. Maybe she never has to. Maybe she does believe this. Maybe she does think that she looks better and that she really feels good and this really changes her life. I hope that that's the case. I hope that it was all worth it for her, but I truly don't know. So the last little bit of this documentary, they checked in with her 1 month after. She's hanging out with her fiance. They went to go get some ice cream. She has to carry around this pillow to sit on because she still can't sit directly on her butt. She has to sit on this little pillow thing that has a couple of divots for her thighs. So she's not putting any direct pressure on her glutes or on her butt. She's more sitting on her thighs. And they're kind of going back and forth. They're kind of talking about the surgery that she got and how she looks now. And they're laughing and smiling. I think that they have a very healthy relationship. They're able to kind of joke around with each other. But he said something about her thinking that she's not perfect enough. His opinion is that she thinks that she maybe needs more modifications because she's not perfect enough. And he was telling her that he wants her to look in the mirror and see beauty, not things that need to be changed. And that is significant because what that tells me is that he sees her differently than she sees herself. Because he knows, he's saying, you look at yourself and you think that you're not perfect enough. You look at yourself and you think that you need more modifications. I look at you and I think you're beautiful. I look at you and I think you're perfect. I want you to look in the mirror and see yourself the way that I do and not see yourself the way that you do. And Jennifer even admits that she sees herself differently from how her fiance sees her. She admitted to shutting down compliments from her fiance. He tells her, "Oh, you look great, you look beautiful." She says, "No, you're lying. No, that's not true. No, you're just playing with me. You're just messing around." She can't even accept compliments from her fiance about her because her sense of self is so warped and her insecurity is so high and her self-worth is so low that she cannot even accept a compliment from this man who loves her more than anyone else in the world. She can't see herself the way that he sees her. She can't accept that he sees her in one light, and she has to reject that. And what a sweet man. What a real man. That is, that's the dream, right? We all want a partner who's going to look at us and say, "You're beautiful. You don't need to get surgery to change anything about yourself." And wouldn't it be great if she could see herself the way that he sees her and accept that she is beautiful and she doesn't need to get surgery to change anything about herself? Of course, there's a line that you don't want to cross. There's a caveat. You don't want a partner who's going to just affirm every single choice that you make blindly and support you in anything that you're doing without being honest about if you're hurting yourself or harming yourself or going down a wrong path. But you do want someone who accepts you for who you are and who is going to be supportive of your beauty and your happiness in a healthy way. And so I think that he ultimately wants her to be healthy and wants her to be happy and wants her to see herself as beautiful, but he knows that she's not there. And she even admits that she's not there. In this conversation 1 month later, she's saying, "Oh, I'm 90% there. Maybe I'll get my boobs done to match my butt. Maybe I'll get, breast implants to match my butt." And if you recall, that directly contradicts what she said after the surgery, where she said, "Never again, I'm never doing this. This is the last time." She said that, and now a month later, she's saying, "Oh, well, maybe I'll get my boobs done. They gotta match my butt. Maybe I need a little more. I'm close. I'm so close to being perfect. I'm not perfect enough." And wow, right? That's just pure evidence of what we've heard about before when it comes to plastic surgery, that slippery slope of you get one thing done and that kind of opens the floodgates into, well, now I need to change this and now I need to tweak this. And I got my nose done, but it changes the proportion of my face. And now I got to get my lips done, and now I got to get a chin implant, and then I got to get Botox because I'm wrinkly, and it spirals, it snowballs into more and more and more, and it's never going to be enough, right? You're never going to be perfect. And I want this to be kind of the last thing we talk about on this podcast episode, the idea of beauty and perfection. There's one more quote from the documentary. This was from Jennifer herself. She said, "True beauty is designed to be unreached." Basically, true beauty is designed to be unreachable by the average person, by anyone, however so you want to interpret that. But let's take a moment to break that down. True beauty is designed to be unreached. So you cannot achieve true beauty. You cannot ever be fully perfect, fully beautiful, and it is designed to be that way. So saying designed implies that there is someone or some other entity that is creating this standard. And it's interesting because I don't know if she's even really acknowledging or knows what she's saying, but she's admitting that there are outside influences that are saying this is what beauty is. This is how you're supposed to be beautiful. This is what beauty looks like. This is what perfection looks like. And you're never going to achieve it. It's too much. The goalpost is always changing. The standard of beauty is always changing. You're never going to be beautiful. So what's the point of trying to reach this unreachable, quote unquote, unreachable beauty standard that is being set by, again, someone else? You're conforming to someone else's idea of what beauty is and what beauty should be. And you're getting all of these modifications, you're getting all of these plastic surgeries to satisfy someone else's point of view, someone else that we can't even pinpoint a person, right? It's the society we live in. But it's true to some degree. We can't look at one person and say, you set this standard, you got to change it. But we're spending stress and money and time trying to conform to it, when again it's always changing, when again it's apparently unreachable. So what's the point of spending all this time and money in something that can never be achieved anyways, especially when you're defining beauty by someone else's terms? So I have over the years developed my own standard of beauty. I reject societal beauty norms. I refuse to take part in this weird dystopian plastic surgery. Everybody looks the same, whatever. I'm being, a little dramatic with that, but it's true. A long time ago, not a long time ago, I guess, several years ago, I sort of redefined beauty in my own head. I decided that my definition of beauty is going to differ from what these other people's definition of beauty that is being, shown in the media, shown on social media, in movies, whatever. I'm never going to look like what is being portrayed to me. So rather than spending my time stressing and worrying and trying to fit into that, why don't I just redefine it, change it up? Because there was definitely a period of time, again, starting when I was young to up until a couple of years ago, where I went through phases, of course. I went through a rebellious phase where what I looked like was more defined by, the makeup I was wearing and how my cool hair dye, and I was very punk, very emo. So I wasn't necessarily concerned with beauty at that point, but I was just trying to look cool and to satisfy, my interests at the time. Definitely into high school and college, I was surrounded by beautiful people. I did want to, conform to that to a certain degree. I wanted to be perceived as beautiful by all these other beautiful people. And then even after graduating college, and I feel like at about that time in my life was when social media really started to ramp up, and that was the start of all of the beauty filters. I was living and thriving in a world before Snapchat, the Snapchat doggy face filter, I realized very early on that some of those filters actually changed the shape of your face. They would make your eyes bigger and they would slim out your like jawline and make your face look thinner. And that wasn't even the point of the filter. That was before beauty filters. That was just like the dog face filter, the little flower crown filter. They were changing your face. It was very subtle, but it was happening. And I took note of that and I was like, I don't want this. I don't want to be using these filters. I don't want to see myself reflected in a way that's different from how I actually look. So I was aware that this shift was happening, and it did ramp up more through like right before COVID. And then in COVID, it, exponentially increased. People were online more, so people were more concerned about what they looked like online and what they looked like in filters and in video. And, people were seeing all these other people looking perfect, looking beautiful, looking snatched and filtered and whatever, and comparing themselves to that. And of course, we cannot talk about beauty standards without mentioning the Kardashians and the sort of, nationwide influence that they have had, especially here in America, and, what women should look like. And again, in my opinion, all of the Kardashians looked way better before they had any of their plastic surgeries done, because now they just look like everyone else, and everyone is starting to look like everyone else to fit this extreme unreachable beauty standard. And if it is so unreachable, why are we even trying? So in my mind, I defined beauty as uniqueness. Beauty equates to being unique. If you have a nose shape, if you have an eye shape, if you have lips that don't look like anyone else's, that look completely different, then that is beautiful. Beauty comes from rarity. Beauty comes from being one of a kind. There's nothing else that can even compare to what you look like, because you're so unique. And interesting too. I mean, all these girls that are getting their noses done, made smaller, they're getting their lips bigger, they're getting their eyes pulled out and up, they all look the same. Once you start to look the same, then there's no novelty, there's no interest anymore. You look like everybody else. You're indistinguishable from, the next girl when you scroll down on Instagram. Isn't it better to be unique? Isn't it better to look like nothing else that has ever existed before? No matter what shape your features take, no matter what size your lips are, or how big your eyes are, or whatever, I think that being one of a kind and being unique is more beautiful and more valuable than looking like somebody else. And then that leads to, more self-confidence as well. Changing, like we talked about, they're trying to, in this documentary, Jen's trying to change the physical, change the outside, which will make her feel better on the inside, which will change her life. And that's what she thought was going to happen. That's what she was chasing. But again, when you change, you got to change the inside first. You got to change the inside first, change your perspective, change the way you view yourself, change the way you view the world. From there, you can change your life. You can get healthier. You can work, spend time in the gym, kind of building the body that you want. It's going to take you, arguably, it's going to take you the same amount of time and pain, maybe even less than the same amount of time and pain to achieve your dream body in the gym than with plastic surgery, than spending, and it's going to cost you less. It costs you $0 to exercise. I mean, yes, if you want a gym membership, you need to pay, but you can go for a run, you can do push-ups, you can do squats, you can go to the park. There's tons of ways to exercise that don't cost you any money. So some people are spending money, spending time and effort, paying years of their lives trying to build this perfect body, get lipo on their arms, get fat in their butt, get breast implants, when you can spend the same amount of time and effort working hard in the gym, the pain of contracting your muscles, the pain in your heart and in your side of running to lose weight, to lose fat in a natural way. And you're going to be spending less money overall. And so personally, that's the route that I'm taking. I think that that's a little more worth it. And then so again, you're changing your perspective, you're changing your inside, you're changing your mind, you're changing your emotional state, you're looking at yourself with compassion, you're looking at yourself as something unique and beautiful, then you are changing your life, you're changing your habits, and you're changing your routines. And from all of that, the physical stuff comes as a byproduct. The physical changes, the glow up, the snatched waist, the thick thighs, the big butt, all of that is going to come as a byproduct of changing your perspective, changing your mind, and changing the way that you live your life. And if I can leave anything with you today, it's to consider those two routes and to consider which one appeals to you more, and to consider which one holds more potential and more value to you in your overall lifetime, rather than just, the quick fix of changing one thing on my body and hoping that that helps change my mind and change my perspective and change my self-worth. The self-worth has got to come first. Like we said at the beginning, Jen was trying to fix an inside problem, this feeling of not being beautiful, this feeling of being a fat cow that was implanted into her head by her parents. She had all of that inside of her, and she was trying to fix all of that pain by changing the outside, when you got to address the pain first. You got to address what's inside first. You have to work on yourself mentally and emotionally, and then the physical stuff comes after that, comes as a byproduct of really taking care of yourself and taking care of your heart and taking care of your inner child, and just you gotta love yourself enough to change yourself in a way that's going to be a healthy benefit to you in the long term. This plastic surgery stuff is not healthy. It's not healthy to put silicone into your body just because you want bigger boobs. It's not healthy to move fat from your arms to your butt just because you want a bigger butt and thinner arms. That's not healthy. What is healthy is turning to self-love and self-compassion and wanting your body to be at its peak health, peak performance, peak looks, and doing so in a way that is going to make you stronger, make you healthier, make you live longer, and ultimately that's what's going to change your life. Not the surgery, not paying $15,000 to a man who's treating your body like it's an object, but you treating yourself and seeing yourself as a whole, wonderful person who is worthy of your own care and attention in the long haul. Well, I hope you guys got something out of this. I hope you learned something new today. Even maybe just you got a new perspective. Maybe you have something new to think about in terms of beauty, in terms of perfection, in terms of plastic surgery. So if you did get something out of this, please come tell me about it. You can find this podcast on Instagram at Smarty Pants Pod. I always do a feed post about each episode, so come tell me about your thoughts there. I will be responding to comments. I also like to do shout outs at the end of every episode for anyone who has commented or interacted, or for anyone who leaves me a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. So go ahead and go do that. And then after that, go tell your friends about the podcast. Tell them about Operation Smarty Pants. If you learned something, if you got something out of this, they might as well. So word of mouth really is going to help us grow. And the more that we grow, the more podcasts I can do, the more that we can learn. Because that's really what it's all about. It's about learning new things. It's about expanding our minds. So thank you guys again so much for hanging out with me today. And I will be back next week with another episode as always. I hope you guys have a wonderful week, and I will see you soon. Ciao. All right, you guys, time for shout outs. We just have one today from Spotify. This was from last week's episode on Göbekli Tepe. Ricky said, "Thanks, Smarty Pants. I've never even heard of this temple before." You are welcome, Ricky. I am glad that you learned something new. All right, guys, that's it. See you next week.